'cause I am the queen.
Hey guys, welcome back to another book rant, and today we're doing one by one of my favorite authors, Heart of the Sun by Mia Sheridan. I've read 2 other books by her, and currently I'm reading her other series. I don't really remember what it's called, the actual series is called, but that's not what we're talking about today. I love her books. She is amazing. Her love stories, and I can't get over how pretty this cover is. The letters, the pink and the purples, and it's a really pretty book. It's a really cute love story, and I'm excited to talk about it. It is basically, what would you do if the world went into darkness tomorrow? So in this story, a sun flare happens, and these 2 childhood friends who kind of fell off and don't really see eye to eye anymore, they're together when a solar flare happens. And if you know anything about a solar flare, it knocks out electricity, just any electrical currents, like phones don't work. No phones, no electricity. A lot of cars will stop working because they have some type of electrical component that requires for them to run. Usually only cars that will run are like the really old ones that it's like straight, gas and things like that. But like no planes, no cars, no phones, no nothing. They don't know what's going on. And that's the thing, when it comes to a solar flare, you don't always know that it's happening, especially because you've never experienced one. You don't know what it was. So a lot of people didn't understand what was going on. They didn't know what had happened. They don't know if things are going to get fixed, because there's no emergency services. Their cars don't work. You can't call anybody. So it's kind of it's kind of like the Titanic, I want to say. How Jack and Rose they weren't real, but it was like a possibility of something that could have been going on during the Titanic before it sank. Because there could have been some type of crazy love story going on. You don't know. But that's basically what I'd say this is. It's what would happen, kind of a love story if like solar flare happened and what was going on. So there's Tuck and Emily. They grew up on a farm, honestly. They had this whole community of they all had different farms and stuff like that. And Tuck and Emily they weren't best friends, I would say, but they were friends. They were cool with each other, and they kind of grew up together, and they drifted apart as life kind of just went on. Tuck went through a lot of things with his mom dying, dad selling their home, and he ended up falling into the wrong crowd. And it was kind of just Tuck was going through a lot as time went on. And Emily kind of did her own thing of her music. She wanted to be a singer, and she ended up getting a lot of opportunities, and ended up becoming this huge pop star under the name Nova, because, she was basically trying to hide who she was from everyone. That's basically what it was, in my opinion. She was trying to hide and pretending she was something that she wasn't. So basically why do I keep calling him Jack? Tuck he gets in trouble for something, ends up in jail for a little bit, gets out of jail. His parents are gone, so he goes to Emily's parents, who they're still really close, because Emily's mom, she understands what's going on with him. She knows he's not a bad guy. He made some mistakes. She's still there for him. Emily is no, he's a criminal. He's terrible. She was honestly being a bitch throughout a good beginning of the book. And so Emily's mom convinces her to let Jack become her bodyguard because he needed a job. So she does. She hires him, after some convincing, hires him as her bodyguard. And they don't fully get along, but they're they're keeping it professional. You know, they're not friends. Let's just keep it professional. This is a job, so that's what he does. And things are fine. Things are a little awkward, but it's normal. It makes sense because he can tell that she's full of shit. Like he calls her out immediately because she is. She was in the beginning. She was straight full of shit, pretending she was just up and better than everyone else, not just completely different. Because like she got onto him like, oh, you're not the same boy you used to be. Like you're different, and he's like, well, so are you. Yeah, no, because honestly, Emily had, because it was very obvious, like when they did the flashbacks, like when they were kids, she had type of like a crush on him, and like had expectations towards him, and like he didn't really reciprocate it much, or he didn't show it. He was kind of just, because they do have a little bit of an age gap, so he was just, you know, doing his thing. He was kind of just not really entertaining what she was wanting. And the girl, that's on you. You're kids. He's not interested right now. I mean, just get over it. And so that kind of shifted as they got older, especially of her teasing him or like them just not getting along because, you know, she kind of had a thing but he wasn't going for it, and so she was a little upset by it. But you know, that's kids. That's just what they do. So, you know, becomes the bodyguard. They end up on a plane. She has a boyfriend who's a drug dealer, but she doesn't know, but Tuck knows only because he saw him in the middle of a drug deal. But he didn't say anything because it's not his business. So they get on this plane, this private plane, to go somewhere that Emily needs to be at. And that's when the solar flare happens and they end up crashing. And then that's kind of where the story kind of picks off of them trying to navigate, figuring out what they want to do. And the biggest like drama of part of it is also they find drugs on the plane. Emily's boyfriend blames Tuck. Tuck just like, no, that's not mine, that's yours and you know it. And Emily just is like, well, you are the criminal. It's probably yours. We're gonna have to turn you in and things like that. Basically trying to, if this solar flare didn't happen, she would have ruined his life over this guy blaming him for drugs that weren't his. Because the thing is, she knew her boyfriend wasn't really that great of a guy, because he was like this big actor dude who, he was big, he was always partying, he was always doing stuff, because they lived, like, he was always out doing stuff, and she knew this. But because she heard bias of like, well, you're the criminal, it wouldn't be a surprise. I'm like, girl, he didn't even go to jail for anything bad. He took the fall he went to jail for like armed robbery, but it wasn't really his fault. It was the dude he went with. He asked him to, hey, can you drive me somewhere to go buy some beer or whatever. Like, he asked him to take him somewhere, so he did. Like, he was his friend. He took him. He didn't know the dude. He stayed in the car. Okay, Tuck stayed in the car. He didn't know the dude was about to go rob the place. And the friend ends up also being shot by the owner. So it all went to shit. Okay? Because I didn't know he was about to rob the place. But obviously, they don't believe that. Like, they don't believe he didn't know anything. They just, he's the getaway driver. So he went to jail. So there's that. And honestly, Emily, she pissed me off because the thing is, she wouldn't even be, okay, I won't say she wouldn't be where she's at, but no, I won't say that. She probably wouldn't be where she was if it wasn't for Tuck. Because when they were kids, Tuck was minding his business. They had a barn, and there's this like landing. A lot of barns have that like top landing area that they'll keep like extra hay or whatever. And Tuck liked to go up there. He had a little area, a little setup for himself. He had to go there to be alone. And he also works out up there. So he had a couple weights up there because he liked to work out. one day Emily went up there being a bitch, making fun of him, of like, oh, you're lifting these weights thinking you're all macho. Like, she was being an ass to him, and picked up one of the weights, dropped it off the landing, but the problem was down below was her father's car. So given that, was it her father's car? It was either her father's or the mayor's. It was somebody important's car. Either way, her father was in charge of it. And she dropped the weight. It shatters the windshield. She was already on thin ice with her parents because she kept getting in trouble. She kept doing stuff. And this was going to be the last straw because she was supposed to go to a music camp in a few weeks. And this was going to be the last straw of, you're not going because you can't seem to behave. Jack, why do I keep calling him Jack? Tuck knows this. Tuck knows how important the music camp is to her. He knows how much she really wants to go. She's a really good singer and things like that. And they might not be best friends, but he still kind of cares about her, and like they still care about each other. So he took the fall for shattering the windshield. He took the fall. All that happened to him was like, obviously he got grounded and would have to like help work to pay off the repairs. He didn't have anything coming up, so she still got to go to music camp, and in that music camp is where she was basically discovered. She was basically discovered at this music camp, and that's where things really went good for her. And if it wasn't for that, if she never went, if he had never decided to take the fall for her, then what? Yeah, and like what I realized, like she never really thanked him or appreciated what he did, and it was just...
As I was editing, I remembered that the first night of his punishment, on the night that it happened, she did help him with some of the chores he was made to do, but her kind of behavior and attitude towards him throughout the majority of the book kind of overshadowed that one little gesture, which in my opinion was the least she could do for him, given that he took the fall for her, was help him out with some of his punishment.
The moment... people change as they grow up, and I think her having these expectations of what she wanted from him kind of skewed that, and she just was just thinking the worst the entire time, just thinking the worst of him. And I don't even think she fully knew why he went to jail or like what happened, but it just seemed like she also just didn't care and would not hear him out, wouldn't give him the benefit of the doubt, and then got mad of like, oh, you're judging me. And I'm like, well, yeah, you're judging me, so I'm gonna judge you. You're literally pretending to be something else. Like, your stage name, like it's common to have a stage name, but she was using it as a being able to fully be somebody else. Of like, she even wanted her mom to call her stage name was Nova. She even wanted her mom to call her that, like when they were on the phone, and she's like, I'm in that mindset. I'm like, girl, what? First of all, that is your mother. She's not gonna call you by your stage name. And what do you mean mindset? Like, a stage name is usually to, yes, to represent you, to have like a cool like performance like style and things like that, but not to straight up shift into a completely different person than what you are and pretending that you're something. And she got a big head. I don't care. She got a big head. She was pissing me off through a lot of it, because during this solar flare, before they didn't know what was going on, the plane had crashed, their pilot was killed. They was like, okay, we just need to figure something out. Tuck was very fine going off on his own and figuring it out for himself, because those two, like Emily and her boyfriend, were not very cooperative and were just their own one. So they were like, they wouldn't survive without him. They don't know what they're doing. So they all went together. And the reason I say she had a big head was because the entire time, her and her boyfriend were basically like, someone will help us, like, look at who we are, like, our status, they'll want to help us. I'm like, bro, no one knows who the fuck you are, no one gives a shit. And basically, it's not even a state of emergency, it is a world of emergency, because the full solar flare affects all of Earth, okay? No one is worried about the two of you, okay? No one's gonna see you and just automatically, I mean, yeah, if you find someone to help you, sure, but it's like, your status, like, what status? No one has status right now. Okay, y'all are not that important. Y'all are not that special. They were just thinking they were just the greatest in the world, and they just, like, who we are, we're famous, we're this, we're that. I'm like, no one is worried about y'all right now. Now, y'all did find one family. They were, like, not friends. They were fans of Nova. They were friends of her, but they didn't really even know Emily, like, because she's acted like two different people, and they did help her, but they just seemed nice, honestly. That's also why they would have helped regardless, because they just seemed nice. And her boyfriend definitely had a big head of thinking he was just the greatest actor in the whole world. He was up and coming, and he was really famous, but it was just like, he expected to come across these random people and them to, like, bend at their will and just do whatever to take care of them. And I'm just like, that's not how this works. I mean, they were traveling, like, across the country, so they they crashed in the middle of nowhere. And when they did wind up somewhere, they weren't as recognized as they thought they would be. A lot of people did not know who the fuck they were and did not care. And even when they tried to, they were like, okay, cool, that's nice. Like, they weren't feeling it. So a lot of it is just them trying to get to somewhere. I mean, they do end up kind of running into people that they know. They had a plan, okay, maybe we should just try to go back home. Like, Emily's parents, like, they're most likely were at home when this happened. Hopefully they're still there. So they kind of had a plan, and they had a lot of obstacles. A guy was giving them a ride at one point, but, like, some people did die, but it was very realistic, because, like, when resources like that were limited, and, like, you had to protect what you had, that's just what it is. I think they got robbed at one point by someone that they thought they were gonna, like, trying to help, but it was very realistic on, like, this is what would probably happen. Some people might die, because, like, people are going to try to steal your stuff. People are going to try to trick you and things like that, and you have to protect your own. Like, you can help people, but you do need to protect yourself. So, that's kind of what happened with that. Yeah, so they run into a couple Tuck's old friends who started this, like, military camp place, where it was actually a really nice setup, and Tuck would have stayed if it wasn't for, making sure Emily got somewhere safe, because he did love her in his own way, and she loved him. It was just, both of them were just disappointed with the other, and that's why it kind of, like, took a minute. It's a slow burn. They do not get together until later, and so, because she still has a boyfriend at this point. She still technically has a boyfriend, but it's not until they get to that military camp and she kind of opens her eyes a bit to kind of see the type of person that Tuck really is, see the person that her boyfriend really is, and she realizes, oh, it was my boyfriend's drugs on that plane, and she confronts him of, did you lie? Because he actually started going through withdrawal, and they thought that he was just sick, and she actually realized, like, this is withdrawal, like, you are a drug addict. And she realizes this just to confront him, and he's kind of just like, whatever, he was a criminal, like, it's fine. Like, he's basically, like, nonchalant, like, it's not that serious. And she breaks up with him, and he's kind of just like, I don't care, I'm a big actor, I can have any girl I want. So he's gone from the story at this point. He actually, one of the girls at the camp does know who he is, and is a fan, and he goes off with her. They, like, run away. But he leaves the story. We didn't really like him very much anyway, so it's okay. And they are at this camp, and then they find out about this other community from some of Emily's people. Some people Emily knew from like the music world. There's this like other camp that, not camp, but like community. These rich people had bought some land like a long time ago and kind of stayed to themselves as like a kind of a gated type of thing, where they had their own resources, and it was kind of just before the flare. There was just these older rich people who kind of just stuck to themselves, and they had the space, they had the resources, and they decided like, okay, let's open this up, let's allow for people to come and, you know, have a place to be. And it worked for a bit until it turned out that was a whole thing, some backstabbing, some, you know, what is it called? Not revenge. I don't remember what it's called. Like betrayal. Yeah, some like betrayal, like people not being who they seem to be, and things like that. Because Tuck wasn't even staying at that place. He left to go. He was gonna go check on her parents and then go back to that military place, and that's where he was gonna be. That's where he felt most like he could be of use. Things didn't work out. Emily was able to escape because there was a whole, people died, taken over. It was a lot going on, so she was able to get out and escape. Her and Tuck later reunite, thankfully. They do find this abandoned house that has like horses and food, and like the people who lived there basically left a note of like they went to find their daughter. So like, if you need to stay here, please feed our horses. There's food, there's things like that. There's resources, like please use what you'd like, things like that. Like it was a really cute type of thing, and they could have stayed there. Honestly, they probably could have stayed there, but it was more. It was just more. They needed to get to where they needed to be. This wasn't meant for a forever type of thing, because that's also kind of when they kind of started opening up and their feelings and things, you know, progressed. And I don't know if they made it official. I think they sleep together, but I don't remember if they made it like official, just because everything was still going on. So, oh, I forgot to mention that Emily and her boyfriend get like kidnapped by some people, like early on in the book, because there's like some guys pretending to be like Amish, and they like kidnapped like this girl and her father, and Emily and her boyfriend like went to try to like, I guess, ask them for help or something like that, and they end up getting kidnapped, and Tuck has to like save everybody, and that whole sequence was very entertaining and kind of hilarious in certain aspect. Her boyfriend, she kind of gets out of her bind and helps Tuck save everybody, and then like the boyfriend is kind of just tied up crying in the back, and it was a very entertaining sequence. I forgot to mention that earlier. It was very entertaining. There was like horses and buggies and just, it was a lot going on. But either way, they kind of make it back to each other, find that house, they kind of realize their feelings for each other, and then they do eventually make it back to Emily's parents. They're okay, thankfully. Given that their farm and all their neighbors, they kind of helped each other out, so they haven't really been bothered too much. They do have their own protection, like they have guns and everything, like they have their own protection. They haven't really had much issues, but everyone's okay, everyone's good, and that's kind of where the story for the most part leaves off, because Tuck went to find his uncle. His uncle was unfortunately killed because a gang kind of took over a bunch of the neighborhoods. Like these gangs kind of took over a bunch of stuff, and they were going houses to houses, hurting people, stealing their stuff, things like that. So Tuck really doesn't have any other family besides Emily and her parents. So that's kind of where the story kind of ends off of, let's just start rebuilding, let's just start making something of what we have, because word start to spread of like it being a solar flare, but things are still fried. You don't know how long it's gonna be. I believe by the epilogue, the electrical grid is still down, and everyone's just basically living life before electricity. They already live on a farm, so they were working to different families in the different areas, because like it was their house, and then obviously they had their property. This family had their property. Like, they're neighbors, they know each other. Farm people like to talk and work together, so everyone was growing their own thing and sharing and trading and things like that and helping each other out. Okay, they built what it would be like before, you know, we had phones and electricities and things like that. Emily and Tuck end up together. They end up married, and I believe she's pregnant by the end of this. So their love story ends up well, and it's a very realistic. I loved it because I love her writing. Her writing is it's very easy to navigate, and so it glides just very smoothly. The story always just follows along just so smoothly, and that's really what it was. And it was very just thinking about, like, what would you do if you were in this situation? Like, how would you navigate it? Where would you go? And it showed how different people came together and helped each other and build something to make safe spaces, and kind of just, you know, how society would kind of fall apart at first, but then humanity come together and kind of, you know, rebuild and make things better. And it was really cute, and it was a really lovely love story, because they were able to grow and kind of realize who they were. That, you know, Emily realized she's not Nova. Nova was this persona she wanted to show to the world, but that wasn't really her. And she realized, like, people do like her for her, that it's not this pop star image she created. And Tuck realized that, like, he can make amends for the things that he did, and he's still a good person. Like, he isn't a bad person. And they found each other, and it was just, it warmed my heart, and I ate it up, and it was amazing. Spice wise, I see a 3. I will give it a 3. There was lots of tension. There wasn't really, like I said, it's a slow burn, and given all that they're dealing with, you don't really got time to do a lot of stuff, especially because she had a boyfriend for like 75% of the book. She had a boyfriend, so you can't really they can't do anything with her in a relationship. Like, she's still being like, well, that's my boyfriend. And even though there were a lot of times she forgot that man was even with them, because she knew this wasn't gonna work out. She knew what was happening. But I'd say it was that I rated 5 stars, obviously, because any book by her, so far from what I've read, any book by her is top tier, okay? I have yet to read a book that I did not love written by Miss Nia. So that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Recommendations always welcome, and I will see you guys next time.